Hello everybody and welcome back to the Honest Aquarium. Substrate is one of the most overlooked parts of an aquarium, but it affects water quality, fish behavior, plant growth, and maintenance. Today I'm breaking down the pros and cons of sand, gravel, large rocks, and bare-bottom tanks, so you can choose the best substrate for your fish, not just what looks good. Substrate isn't just decoration. It plays a role in beneficial bacteria, how waste breaks down, how fish behave, and even stress levels. The wrong substrate can trap waste, injure fish, or make maintenance harder than it needs to be. The right substrate makes your tank easier to manage and healthier long term. Okay, the first substrate we're going to be looking at today is sand. Sand, again, is one of the most natural looking options. Sand is excellent for bottom dwelling fish like corydoras, loaches, discus, and many cichlids. These fish naturally sift through the sand, and they sift it through their gills and mouth, and this sand allows that behavior more safely as opposed to more bigger substrates, so like bigger pebbles or rocks and stuff like that can get lodged or even damage their sensitive gills or barbels at the same time. So personally, I like sand because, again, like I said, it has just more of a natural look, a natural, I don't know. It's just like, again, it's just a more natural appearance. Again, it's more gentler on the fish and their mouths and barbels. It allows their natural digging behavior, which can be a positive or negative, depending if your tank is more planted. Again, some fish do have, especially cichlids, love digging, and they can uproot your plants a lot more easily in sand. So, I mean, again, that's a con. But again, I like sand. It's good for planted tanks. And food sits on top so fish can easily find it. Again, not that it won't get into the sand, but it's less likely to disappear in between the cracks and become lodged down there and cause an issue later. But there are some cons to using sand. It can compact over time. There could be anaerobic pockets. So again, pockets of like non-moving air. If it's too deep. So again, some people, myself included, I like using at least an inch of sand in my aquarium. And every once in a while, it needs to be stirred. Again, some fish are able to do that for you naturally, that sift through the soil, which is a great, through the sand, which is great. And at the very beginning, and sometimes when they're sifting, it can cause the water to become a lot more cloudier. Especially, like I said, if you don't rinse it properly. Even if you do rinse it properly, sometimes it will become, the water will become cloudy even if you do that, which sucks. But then again, it does clear up. If you want to be having sand and go the more quote-unquote natural route, keeping it more shallow, maybe half an inch, and then every once in a while gently stirring. But again, I like sand. It's a lot more natural. I go for the Wallstead method. Again, if people don't know what that is, it's you putting dirt and then you cap it with sand. Nothing against people who like to use more like colorful stones and stuff like that. But again, I like my tanks to look more natural. All right, next up is small pebbles or gravel. Again, this is the kind, if I do go the gravel route, which some of my tanks do have gravel, I'm going to be using something more like this. It's more natural looking. Again, these can come in many different shapes and sizes. There's the more, they're not artificial, but the more round looking ones people use for their planted tanks. But again, small pebbles. They come in many different variations, but it's essentially the same thing. This works great in a community tank. Is very beginner friendly. This is easier to clean, like very easy to clean, especially if you have a gravel vacuum. The food will still generally sit on top, but there are chances, because again, you can see it, you can see through the bottom, that there are like cracks and crevices that food is able to fall down in, and it can become trapped. But again, with this, you can still have great water flow, unlike sand, which again does compact. This still allows it to breathe a little bit more. And again, it doesn't compact like sand. This comes in many different shapes and sizes and colors. Again, for the more quote-unquote children-friendly tanks, you have stones like this, but they'll come in like bright neon colors like blues and reds and purples, which is a great fun option for kids and new fish keepers just really getting into the hobby. And again, this is really stable for decorations. I have had many successful planet tanks that do use this type of gravel, and plants do root in it pretty well. Some cons with this type of substrate. Food and waste can fall in between. Again, yes, it's air and water flow through it a lot more easier, but that does mean that food and waste can get trapped in there, and that could cause issues for your tank. It could cause ammonia spikes and things like that, so that's something to be aware of. Depending on this, again, there are a few jagged edges on this. Some gravel does come a lot more rounded, so wouldn't necessarily be an issue, but this could cause injuries to the mouth of a fish. You know, fish like to eat off the bottom, and sometimes they pick up stones, and if it's too sharp, when they bite down on it, it could cause issues with their mouth, their gills, their barbels. Not the greatest for bottom-dwelling sifting fish, so your corydoras, your cichlids. If they're more rounded, you can get away with it, but that's just something to be aware of. And again, the biggest thing with this type of gravel is just debris can get trapped underneath it a whole lot easier. So if you're going to go this route, and again, this is not a bad route, I like this stuff, try to go for more of the smoother gravel. Like I said, sharp gravel can cause injury to your fish. And if you like the bright neon colors, don't let anyone dissuade you. It's your fish tank. You can do really whatever you want. So yeah, choose what you like to stare at. Okay, the next substrate we're going to be talking about is large river rocks. Again, this is just one example. They come smaller than this, so bigger than the small pebbles we saw, but I've seen tanks that have stones like this in it, like the entire bottom completely covered in these. I've seen them way smaller, and I've seen them way bigger. Again, they look great, but they come with a few trade-offs. These type of stones are normally used in like cichlid tank setups, especially more the African and the Rift Lake fish. Again, very natural looking, clean appearance, excellent water flow. I mean, even if you have a bunch of these like stacked up on each other, you'll still have a lot of flow through that. No compaction issue, and you can see debris a lot easier. But there's still some cons with this. Waste collection between the rocks. It's harder to vacuum because, again, I've had pretty big rocks, like rocks way bigger than this, and it is a lot harder to clean because you can still see that there's a crevice here and food can get stuck underneath. So sometimes you have to manually go in and lift the rock if the vacuum's not going underneath to clean it. It's not plant friendly, again, and one of the things I've always worried about is sometimes if you don't have something underneath it, like pebbles or sand or anything like that, this sitting on the rock can cause pressure points, and it can crack your glass. So if you have a bunch of these stacked up, that's just a lot of pressure sitting directly on the glass, so that can cause cracking and issues like that. One big thing too I saw with these guys, if you have a bunch of rocks and stuff stacked up, fish can become trapped in between, underneath, so that's something to be aware of. So yeah, that's something to be aware of. So again, if you're going to be stacking this stuff on bare glass, just be careful. I know some people actually use foam and stuff, or even some type of like filter floss for it to sit on so it's not resting directly on the glass. So yeah, large rocks, if you like them, use them. Like I said, if you want a more of a natural look, these are really good for cichlid tanks, especially African cichlids. Yeah. And finally, the last one is, again, there's nothing in here. Well, bare bottom tanks. Some people don't use substrate at all. It's pretty common in like more the fancier goldfish tanks because goldfish are pooping and waste machines. I've also seen it in a lot of large cichlid setups as well. Cichlids can be messy fish when they eat. So yeah, they're really popular as well for breeding, quarantining, and discus tanks. Breeding in quarantine tanks, because again, you're putting that fish in there, you're quarantining them from some type of disease, and again, it makes it so whatever's on them or whatever they have, it doesn't stay in the tank, it doesn't rest in the substrate. So you put a new fish in there, and then boom, they're sick with what the previous fish had. Again, pros of bare bottom tanks: they're easy to clean, maximum water quality, no trap waste, great for monitoring fish's health. They are perfect for breeding fry. Breeding fish and like having baby fry. Personally, this is probably my least favorite tank. It just doesn't look natural. It can cause some stress for fish. Again, you're not getting that quote-unquote natural behavior. So again, no natural foraging behavior. And even with the bare bottom tanks, I do sometimes still see like fake plants or some type of rock or decor, because again, fish feel a lot more comfortable with the decor. It provides hiding places and territories and things like that. So yeah, bare bottom tanks. If you do run a bare bottom tank, I would say try to add some plants. Like you can still do like live plants in like natural pots, and some decor and stuff like that. It just helps the fish feel a lot more secure in their fishy lives. And again, just a quick comparison. If you want more of a natural behavior, I would recommend going with a sand. Easy maintenance, I would say gravel. A show tank, again, you've seen those amazing tanks with those large rocks. And then the cleanest water, I would say going for a bare bottom. Most fish keepers have a mix of most of these. But again, it's up to you. There's really no single substrate that's the best. The best choice, again, depends on the type of fish you're keeping and just your goals. Like, yes, you're going to see so many people saying, nope, this is the best. Nope, this is the best. They're going to argue till the cows come home. But at the end of the day, as long as your fish are healthy, it's up to you. It's up to your preference and what you like and what you enjoy seeing every time you walk into the space that holds your fish tank. So, like I said, if your fish are healthy, then yeah, do whatever the heck you want. It's your tank. So yeah, like before choosing a substrate, again, it's important to think about the fish species and how much maintenance you want to do and whether you plan to keep plants. So yeah, it's up to you, folks. Like really, at the end of the day, people are gonna have their own opinions, their own thoughts, but it's your tank. Well, if you found this video to be helpful, if you would mind hitting a like and a subscribe for more weekly aquarium content, and let me know in the comments what substrate you're using and why. Take care.